A long time ago, Tim Drake died in DC Rebirth. That story is linked down below, but he's actually been locked away in an interdimensional prison with Mr. Oz. Today, he's finally gonna break free. That is the story. But he doesn't break free himself. Something happens, and it doesn't put a good amount of faith in him as to what his future is going to entail. Enjoy the return of Tim Drake. A long time ago, Dick Grayson was given a set of photos revealing that someone knew who he was. Dick asked the young boy what's going on, and the boy said that they both know things haven't been right since Jason's death. Bruce Wayne needs to remember who he used to be. He needs a Robin. Dick then asks the boy who he is, and in current times, a voice says, Tim Jackson Drake. Why go to them after all of these years? Tim responds, telling Mr. Oz that Batman was out of control. Losing fights that he could have won in his sleep, he was hurting people. There has always been a darkness in Batman, something almost corrosive. But without Jason, without a Robin, that darkness was consuming him. I went to Dick because he may have been impressed with my knowledge. I was hoping to convince him to wear the Robin costume once more, but he obviously didn't listen, did he? Dick had decided that he would help Bruce as Nightwing, but that didn't fix what Bruce really needed. Oz asks, if that was the case, why did the responsibility fall to you to become Robin? Why did it have to be you? Tim says it was because he was the one who saw what needed to happen when no one else did. He knew who they were. How couldn't he act? How could he not become Robin? Oz then asks, if that's the case, why did you choose to leave it all behind? Tim goes on telling him that he had to help Batman build some kind of supportive system, one to fight crime in a way that he never had before, one that wouldn't need him there. Everyone thinks that Batman is this solitary hero, but the truth is, he's never truly been alone since Robin. Now, with this system that he built, Batman will never run short of help. An image appears on the screen of the Bat family fighting villains, and Oz says, ah yes, your friends? And Tim tells him, see? It works without me even being there to do anything. The image changes to Batman as he works at the computer, and Oz tells him that ever since he learned that Tim Drake was alive, he's been searching. He hasn't slept in 5 nights. His search consumes him. Oz then says, my question was never fully answered. Why was it that the costume was hung up? Tim pauses for a moment and then he says, it's because I could never become Batman. I've known that from the beginning. I never wanted to go down that route. And Oz tells him, that's right. It's because you fear it. That's why such intricate systems are made, to manage it from afar. And Tim shouts, that's enough. The system will hold. The fact that it's held this long? And Oz finishes the sentence telling him, it's meaningless. Tim then says, I'm done being interrogated. And Oz tells him, you could have not said a word and stood there, silently. But Tim starts smiling, telling him, no, you misunderstand. I was allowing myself to be interrogated, and now I'm done. It uses less brain power to tell the truth, and because of that, I've been multitasking. Screens begin to light up, showing the Red Robin logo, and Tim works at the controls in his glove, stating, it took me a while to reprogram these computers. But that was when I remembered a bit of Kryptonian coding theory that I deciphered with Batman a few years back. Tim jumps out of Oz's hold, and then he attacks him, telling him, who are you? And how do you have this kind of technology? Trust me, I am the smartest and most dangerous teenager, and I have a backdoor into your systems. I want to know everything. I want to know what kind of prison this is and why you brought me here and how I get out. Oz's eyes shine, and he asks, you want to know the terrible secret? Oz knocks Tim to the ground, pulling back the cloak, telling him that he is just as much of a prisoner in this place as he is. Tim looks at the crest on Oz's chest, and he says, no, you can't be. And Oz tells him, that's right, I am Jor-El, father of Kal-El, known to you as Superman. He goes on telling Tim, I see a lot of myself in you. Though, you may not understand it, I was trying to save you. This need in your heart to save them, this is what turned his eye towards you. For once in your life, make the selfish decision and don't go back. Suddenly, Jor-El begins to fade, and he says that at this moment, his eyes have turned elsewhere. It is time to put my plot into motion. I implore you, stay and reflect your life. I have something else to do. And with a bright green flash, Jor-El disappears, and Tim jumps up shouting for him to wait! I don't understand! If you want to know where Jor-El's going, that's the Superman story, The Oz Effect. I'll link it down below. Tim frantically tries to reconnect the computer as a way to send out a message, telling Bruce that he doesn't want to be here anymore. Come find him! After a few moments, a response comes in and Batman tells him, I'm a prisoner here too. Use the computer to open up the containment cells in Corridor 6A. Tim says, wait, That's where I was. And Batman tells him there isn't much time before Oz returns. Tim sets the computer to unlock the cells and begins running back towards his cell, shouting, "I did it! The cells are open!" And as Tim steps through, Batman says, "It's really you." And Tim smiles, telling him, "I'm so relieved you're here. We gotta get out of here." But before they can go, there's a thumping sound, and Batman pushes Tim to the ground, telling him, "Get down!" And he takes out a gun and begins to fire. Tim asks, "What the?" And Batman yells, "I told you just to open up the containment cells in this corridor, not the whole damn place." Tim says, "Wait, this is all wrong. Batman would never use a..." And Batman stops him, telling him, "Right and wrong are subjective. This gun murdered Thomas and Martha Wayne. It's been rebuilt, and now it's being redeemed as a tool that was once evil." Tim steps back, stating, You can't be Bruce." And Batman tells him, "No." He pulls back the cowl, and the man inside is the Timothy Drake of tomorrow. "Now get behind me. We're not the only prisoners here." Suddenly, there's a rumble from the wall as Doomsday breaks through, charging right at the two Tims. Tim quickly jumps into action and Doomsday easily knocks him to the ground. Timothy, the older Batman version, loads up a green cartridge and begins to fire on Doomsday until he's actually stopped moving. Timothy helps Tim up, stating, "That's only a synthetic kryptonite. It won't keep him down forever. If you want to live, we gotta leave now." As the two leave, Tim asks, "When did you figure out how to break Doomsday's skin?" And Timothy says, "It all started when I was around your age, maybe a little younger. It was around the time that I also realized that no matter how hard I trained, I would never be on the same level as Bruce, Dick, or the other Robins. But what I did know is that I was smarter than them, so I created shortcuts and cheats. Everything I need to take down anyone is stored in this suit at all times. Right now, though, we need to move quickly before our window is gone." And Tim asks, "What window?" Timothy explains, "I've been trapped in this place for the equivalent of a year. Obviously, we are outside of the confines of hyperspace since we're both here at the same time. The Titans in my time used a modified boom tube teleport system that I built into the suit's computer, so if we get the right frequency that Oz just used to leave, we might be able to mimic it." Tim stops him. Whoa, wait, this is a lot to process. Is a future me, you're Batman, you're angry and you're using a gun? Timothy tells him, "No, you've already processed it. You just don't like what you've processed." Tim tells him, "You don't know what I'm thinking." Timothy tells him, "Actually, I do. I remember having this same conversation. Well, perhaps we should say an echo of it, but either way, duck!" Just then, Doomsday starts running towards them, and Timothy uses the suit to lock down the security doors near them one at a time. Tim asks, "What did you mean by an echo?" And Timothy tells him, "Back when I was Robin, I had this conversation with myself as well. The circumstances were different, but it happened." Tim stops to think, "None of this makes sense. I would never become you. I would never become the Batman." And Timothy then asks, Who takes Gotham when Bruce dies?" Dick steps in for a bit, but he does what he does and he moves on. Jason tried, but he lost an eye and a leg, and more importantly, his will to live. Damian took the cowl, but he nearly burned the city to the ground. And Tim asks, "What did he do to you?" Timothy tells him, "I did what I always do. I did what was necessary." Tim shouts that he's a monster, and Timothy says that morality isn't as black and white as you may think. Gotham needed a Batman, and at the end of the day, there was no one else. And Tim asks, "What about Batwoman?" And Timothy yells, "Especially her! God, to still be so trusting! Batwoman isn't the person that you think she is, and you're gonna learn that soon enough." But while the two argue, Doomsday charges back in, and Tim says, "I got it this time." A flash appears, and a projection of Superman floats in front of Doomsday. The projection then flies off, and Timothy holds his hand out, telling Tim that they need to hurry. "Take my hand so that we can leave." A green light surrounds the two of them, and suddenly Tim looks around Gotham alleyways, asking, "Am I really home?" Timothy tells him it should be, and you should thank me. But at the risk of sounding rude, it's probably time that I get back to my own timeline. Timothy turns and he begins walking off, and then he stops and he says, "Before I go, there's something I wished I could have done back in your shoes. Tell Connor that I'm sorry for everything." Tim stands and he asks, "Who's Connor?" Timothy doesn't answer. He quickly begins to access the timeline to see the current Bat family, and he begins to talk to himself. Tim yells, "What are you going on about?" And Timothy quickly spins back, slashing Tim's arm with a batarang. Timothy then rips his glove, seeing the same scar on him, and he says that this means he can be free. "Oh, thank God I can be free." Before Tim has a chance to ask what that even means, Timothy releases a paralytic shock, stunning Tim, and he tells him, "I'm sorry, but I can't leave yet. I can free you from becoming what I am now by starting with the person responsible for setting my life in this path. I must stop the person responsible for the fall of the Batmen. I must kill Batwoman." Meanwhile, back at the Batcave, Batman is going over the footage of Tim, telling the computer to play it over and over again, trying to figure out where he is. Alfred comes back down, telling Batman that he needs to sleep even for just a few hours. If not, he will use some of Dr. Crane's neurotic gases on him. Batman says that he's already lost too much time. The answers are not coming in fast enough. He takes his coffee and he replays the events leading up until now, when there's suddenly a ping at the computer. He continues to self-loathe when Alfred says that it is a distress call coming from Master Tim's costume. It's here in Gotham. Without saying a word, Batman races out of the cave and onto the streets where the beacon is coming from, and when he arrives in the alleyway, he finds Tim's costume, but no Tim. He looks around to see a hospital, and as he runs in, the doctors are already attempting to revive Tim. He storms into the examination room as Bruce Wayne, telling the doctors to get out. He is the boy's legal guardian. Also, he owns the hospital. You all need to get out right now. He hurries over to hug Tim, and weakly, Tim tells him, "You have to go. I didn't come back alone, and where's Kate?" Later at the Belfry, the base of everyone in the Batman team in the Detective Comics, Batwoman comes in to hear everyone talking and asks Luke what's going on. Luke says that she's just gonna have to see for herself, and then she sees Tim. Wasting no time, Batman tells everyone to take a seat, and Tim says that he's going to need everyone to take this for face value. They don't have time to deal with the implausibility of it, but there's a very dangerous future version of himself in Gotham. In his time, he was forced to take up the mantle of Batman, and he is not happy about that. He believes that he can prevent it from happening here in the present by killing the person who put it all in motion. He's here to kill Batwoman. Batwoman looks at Tim and asks, "How personally should I be taking this?" Later, Batwoman says that she really doesn't like the idea of being put in a cage. She's not a child who needs protecting. And Tim says that he knows, but trust him. This also means that he knows what he knows, and he knows that she'll be coming right for him. A few hours ago, he took down Doomsday with his own hands. Not to sound blunt, but I could kill any one of you in here if you don't prepare. He's basically the worst parts of me in one person with 2 decades of more intelligence and experience. Batwoman tells him charming, and Tim tells her, "I would say that you should meet him, but I'm literally redesigning the shield doors so that doesn't happen." A little while later, Tim returns to Batman asking if there have been any traces of him yet, because honestly, he thought that he would have been here already. Batman looks out the window stating that as someone who's lost a lot in life, if he was given a chance to see his world before it all changed, he would revel in the sight. Tim goes on telling him, that could be anything. We're talking about 2 decades worth of missing time. Timothy also talked about a friend that he should have, someone named Connor. Though I don't know who that is, I feel the name tugging at my heart. Batman asks, where would you go if you felt lost in a world that was so different, but so very much the same? Tim pauses and says that he would go to the only place that he ever felt home. And over in Wayne Manor, Alfred tends to the garden when a voice tells him, hello. Alfred turns back to see Batman, but not Bruce Wayne, Timothy. And he pulls down the mask, telling Alfred, no, it's only me. Alfred gasps, asking him, what happened to you? And Timothy tells him, your Tim is with Bruce. He's the same person. I'm just a few decades down the road. Alfred steps back, asking, I never thought it would be you. I never thought that you would bear the cowl. Timothy pulls the mask back, telling him, neither did I. But I need to ask you something. If there was something that I could do, something that would free me from being Batman, but something terrible, really terrible, should I do it? Alfred asks, what are you going to do? But before Timothy can answer, a voice tells him, we can answer that. You're going back to where you belong. Nightwing, Red Hood, and Damian appear before Timothy, and Timothy tells them, you're all so young and stupid. Alfred quickly runs upstairs to send word to Batman and the others, and moments later, Batman speeds into the cave asking what's going on. Before Alfred could give him a full answer, Nightwing, Damian, and Red Hood all come crashing down into the cave. Tim yells out to Timothy that he doesn't need to do this. He's good, but he can't beat the real Batman no matter how smart he is. Just let us help you. Let us work through whatever this is together. And Timothy laughs, asking, did you really think that I would come to the Batcave just to tie up some residual emotions for a life that I lost decades ago? You really are naive. I came here because the Bat computer is connected to a half-built program that helped me create the future. Batman won't finish it for a while, but after that I will spend years perfecting it. It doesn't even need a satellite in my time. It runs through my suit. Batman quietly tells him, no. And Red Hood asks, what the hell are you starting to build? Timothy smiles, telling him, let me show you. Activate! And the computers all change into a blue eye, and it responds that Brother Eye is online! Meanwhile, over in the Atlantic Ocean, Ulysses Armstrong, the individual from the Army of the Batman storyline at the beginning, is working on his own Red Robin costume, when suddenly his computers change to Brother Eye. He runs over to his terminal trying to block the Brother Eye from connecting, but the computers all respond. Drone fleet activated. Target Catherine Kane, Batwoman, the Belfry. Ulysses heads out telling them that he needs to report to the Colonel, and then he stops stating that maybe I can finally see what my toys can do. Back in the Batcave, the fight begins with all 5 of the present-day Bat family members against Timothy Drake of the future. Red Hood pulls out a knife stating that he's sorry to do this, but however, before Red Hood could even strike, Timothy tells him that in just a few years, he's gonna learn that one of his bones was never set right after the Joker killed him. There's a growing, debilitating bone spur in his hip joint. He found it for him, so you're welcome. He hits him in the hip, and Nightwing swings in asking, why are you doing this? Why not just come with us? And Timothy deflects the hit, telling him, because the problem is bigger than you think. The problem isn't with any of you in particular, except maybe Damian. He should be killed on sight for what he does to the poor Kent boy. Damian jumps in asking, what are you talking about? And Timothy then punches him to the ground. But before Timothy can attack again, there's a distortion that pulls out him and he screams in pain. Tim asks what's going on and Timothy pulls his mask back, shouting, "I don't have time for this! Will you all just get it into your thick skulls that Batman is a curse?" Batman jumps into attack, but Timothy tells him, "You worry about it every night, that each of them are more broken than when you found them. You're gonna die, still afraid of that truth. I should know, my Bruce told me on his deathbed. Go ahead and say it's a lie." Batman pauses for hesitation, and Timothy releases an electrical charge into Batman's suit, stating, "I thought not." Timothy then tells Brother Eye to go ahead and clean up everything as suddenly all of the Batmobiles activate. Over in the Belfry, Luke says that he's got something incoming and he's pretty sure it's something that they've run into before. Batwoman looks at the screen and says that it's the Colonel drone fleet that can level buildings. Just then, Brother Eye says that the security system is compromised and Batwoman's cell is deactivated. Right after that, the explosion goes off and Batwoman tells everyone to get back and Cassandra says, "No, together." Back at the Batcave transit system, Tim follows Timothy down, telling him that he should have thought of another way to the Belfry without using a transportation system that he built. And Timothy kicks Tim into the carts, asking, "Why would I have done that? I wanted you to follow me. You should be smart enough to know that you can't defeat me alone. Now that I want to." Timothy yells in pain as the distortion begins to pull at him again, and Tim asks what is going on. Timothy turns back, kicking Tim, telling him, "It's the hyper time fighting back. The time stream doesn't want to be changed, and the more that I interact with the past, the more that it tries to assert itself and send me home." Tim tells him, "I can't let you do anything," and Timothy grabs him, telling him, "I will be free! Free, like I haven't been since the day that I decided that Batman was losing himself in the wake of Jason's death." Tim struggles, yelling, "You know that I can't let you do that," and Timothy says, "Yes, I know! Goodbye." With one swift chop to the neck, Tim falls to the ground. And inside of the Belfry, everyone is getting ready to fight against the drones when Timothy jumps into the middle of the fight, telling Brother Eye to make a cage. He needs to finish this himself. An energy dome appears to build around the two of them, Timothy and Batwoman says, "Apparently, I'm gonna do something to piss you off pretty bad in the future." Timothy shouts, "No, you disappoint me, just as you disappoint everyone. I used to think so highly of you, but it's the confidence in your voice, the way you hold yourself. It's that you have no idea what you're doing, and you're going to destroy people, but now, it's over." As Timothy holds out his gun, a batarang flies in, knocking it out of his hand, and Tim walks through the shattered cage, telling him, "Not yet." Timothy looks back, asking, "How are you doing this? I built these computers." And Luke walks up, telling him, "Yeah, he also rebuilt them. Your younger self funneled control of the base into my subsystems. Brother Eye has no power in the Belfry." Timothy shouts, "No," as the time stream begins to pull at him and Tim and Batwoman take a chance to beat him down. Outside, Batman, using the older model vehicles that he designed, get to work taking out the drones, and all Timothy can do is watch his plans crumble. As the smoke clears, Tim stands with Timothy, telling him, "This whole building was our dream, and it still can be." And Timothy begins to hold his head and cry, stating, "It won't. None of it's going to work. You're gonna see it fall apart in your own hands." The time stream begins to light back up, and Timothy puts the mask back on, telling his younger self, "Make sure to hold on to everything as long as you can, because this is all going to be over so much sooner than you can imagine." And with that, future Timothy disappears. As Tim stands there, Batman reports in asking, "What happened? Did Timothy return to his time? Tim, what's going on?" And there you have it. Tim Drake is back! Yeah, baby! There's a whole bunch of stuff coming out of this now, such as, what about the Teen Titans? Because if we're reading the Teen Titans, Tim decided to show up and not talk to them. What about spoiler? Does she know that her boyfriend's alive? You need to subscribe to this channel to get those stories as we get to them, or you can go pick them up at your favorite comic book shop right now. Now check out more Batman stories right over here, something else from DC Rebirth right over here, and don't forget, I'll see you next time, right here at Comicstorian.